Welcome to another episode of the Advice First podcast. This is your host, Robert Clark, and again, joined by an incredible co-host, Mr. Christopher Ingram. Chris, welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
Let's see, would you like to do the honor? I mean, I don't want to steal the show here.
Yeah, sure. I'll introduce Rian Denich. Ryan has been with us for how long now?
Going on 4 years.
4 years with Prosperitas Financial. Has been a godsend, has been excellent around the office, been great to his clients, and just feel really lucky to have you as part of the team. And so today, I probably won't do justice to really explaining who you are and what your background looks like. So I think the best thing to do is just hand it over to Ryan. So Ryan, take a moment, tell us about who you are, not necessarily in the finance world, but just, where you come from, how you grew up, what your life looks like, what your family looks like, a little bit about yourself, what you like to do for fun, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, thanks, and thanks for having me, and thank you for the awesome introduction. So a little bit about me. I'm 28 years old, financial advisor with Prosperitas Financial. Spent most of my life growing up in the Santa Clarita Valley, really ever since 2001, called Santa Clarita home. So I went through all the local school systems and the local community college, transferred to a Cal State University. Before Santa Clarita, kind of moved around with the family. I always say that's back when people used to move for work, before you could go remote and open up Zoom and really work from anywhere. So we were originally located up in just outside of the Bay Area. My dad was a professor at Stanford University. I was born at the...
Heard of that place.
Yeah, it's a pretty big school.
It's a decent school.
Yeah. Always have dreams of going back and checking out the golf course there. It's definitely on the bucket list.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yep. And so he was a professor there. We moved to Ohio for work. He's a Canadian citizen, so makes me a dual citizen. And we lived in Canada for a couple years in the late 90s, and then found our way back in the early 2000s to Southern California, and really called Santa Clarita home ever since.
Mm-hmm. What's a Canuck?
A Canuck?
Mm-hmm.
That's a Canadian term. I think there's a hockey team in the Canucks, but outside of that, I'm
just
not 100%
it's
sure.
fine.
I was young.
I don't want to put you on the spot.
Yeah.
I was just wondering. I've never known. I mean, what the puck is a Canuck?
Yeah.
Isn't that a
I
shirt?
couldn't tell you. It sounds like if it's not a shirt, you should make it a shirt.
I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
Yeah.
So, get back to you. Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, you're fine. Other than that, some other things about me. Big into technology, markets. It's kind of really what drew me into the industry, was coming across something like a financial calculator when I was online, on the computer at a younger age. I always say my story, kind of like what got me into the industry, is it was like a talking point that my brother, my dad, and I would bond over. And that came in the later teen years. I was still in high school at the time. I remember one night my mom woke up screaming, get out of the room, go check on her, see what's happening. My brother had gotten in a really bad car accident. He almost went through the front windshield of the car. Right? And so thankfully he's okay. And this was over 10 years ago.
He's had a baby today, huh?
He just had a baby today, so I was just telling them that I achieved uncle status.
Uncle Ryan.
Yep.
Love it.
Yeah. So
he made it through this car accident?
Yeah, so wake up, my mom's in a panic. He got in a car accident. He broke his leg and his forearm, so it was a pretty bad car accident. Actually, in Sand Canyon, they went over one of the, what do you call that, an embankment? Yeah, so, they fell something like 10 feet down. A really bad car accident, and it was kind of like a hit and run situation. And so, long story short, he got a little bit of insurance money when all that got settled, and the personal injury attorney that he was working with referred him to a financial advisor. So, my brother with a broken leg, me being around the house, I'm a teenager, I'm pushing him around the house, trying to help him out, and that whole time he was kind of telling me the conversations that he was having with his financial advisor, right, which was really cool for me. kind of gave me the inside scoop on what I should be, thinking about doing in the next couple of years. I want to say at that time I was 16 or 17 years old, and the light bulb kind of turned on for me at that point. Hadn't really looked into, what are investments. 16 years old, I had other things that I was more focused on at that time. But yeah, so, ever since that point and coming across a financial calculator, I plugged in some, simple return projections, and I go, okay, this is something that I'm interested in. And really ever since then, there's more to the story, but that's what turned on the light bulb for me originally, and I still show clients that same financial calculator today.
That's cool.
My wife will sometimes ask me where we want to go to dinner, and I break out my financial calculator. She doesn't understand, but it really does answer a lot of questions. It's really a valuable tool.
Yeah.
What's this?
Tell me more about this. Hold on.
Everything has to do with money.
Yeah.
She doesn't get it either. I'll explain it another time. We don't want to take time away from Ryan. So, finance major in college, right?
Yeah, so I didn't go into my background. When I was at community college, I went to College of the Canyons. I was studying business administration and accounting. Went to my transfer school originally for systems and operations management. I was going to double major business admin and systems and operations. And when I was in the first semester of my transfer, I was taking a personal finance class. I didn't know anyone at the school since I had just transferred in. I sat in the front row. I was always working through college. That's another thing that I didn't mention. So when I was paying for my own education, I took it very seriously. I'd sit in the front row, took all honors classes. I was a part of the CSUN's business honors program. And yeah, so I had this personal finance class at the time. I was working at Wells Fargo as a teller, and so I was kind of already at that point in time, after having some exposure to the markets through my brother and that car accident, that light bulb turning on for me. One of the first things I did was open up a Roth IRA, start investing in it. And, this is a number of years later that I'm at CSUN, but I would always engage with the professor, who all of my professors in that program were CFPs. And I would always ask real world questions. And about 3 weeks into the semester, one of the first friends that I made at CSUN, his name's Ahmad, and he kind of asked me, he said, Ryan, why are you a systems and operations major? You should be a personal finance major. And at the time, that was his major. And at CSUN, there was really two routes you could take. You could take an emphasis in financial planning or an emphasis in financial analytics. And after talking to him, kind of giving it some thought, I decided to make that change from systems and operations. I went down the financial planning path. I felt, and I think even to this day, I'm more of a people person. There are times where I'm like, hey, I just want to look at the numbers, and I don't want to, have to have maybe sometimes difficult conversations with people. That's some of the challenges that come with the role of being a financial advisor, but you learn to get through those and how to navigate those conversations. And after you get through it a few times, at least for me, that's the way I learn is going through it, experiencing it firsthand, and that'll stick with me for future needs. And so that's kind of my educational background. And I went through that honors program. Really what that honors program is there for is not only do you get your degree in finance, but you also satisfy all the prerequisites for taking the CFP exam and earning that credential.
Yeah.
So that's probably, if I'm going to do any future education, it'll be the CFP.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. That's really cool.
I'll take the next leg. So for our listeners, so where the next phase walks in is, I had a client review one day. Client walks in and she brings her granddaughter with her, and they want to talk about her investments and how it relates to the granddaughter moving forward and so on and so forth. And the granddaughter brings her boyfriend, And looking back on the meeting, it was kind of weird because I feel like I kept kind of stopping the conversation with my client and her granddaughter and talking to you because the boyfriend was Ryan, right? So, and we kept going back and forth, and he's asking questions and I'm asking questions. I just remember leaving the meeting like, that guy has what it takes to be a financial advisor. I just felt in that one meeting like, this guy is somebody that I think I could trust, somebody that I think I could put in front of my clients. And at that time, I was getting to a place where I really, Prosperitas was growing and we were looking for people in general, but I really needed somebody that I felt could come in and kind of help me with my client load and help work with my clients, and somebody that I thought was knowledgeable. That was the other thing, is I felt like I could trust you, and that, but your knowledge and what you knew already before ever getting to us and being trained through your honors program and CSUN and the things you had done up to that point, you just knew a lot for somebody that hadn't worked in the business before, and I just really felt comfortable. And so it was almost like love at first sight, for lack of a better way of explaining it. And so we, to our listeners, from that point forward, we continued to talk, and eventually, really felt like it was a good fit, and brought Ryan into Prosperitas, and haven't looked back from that point. It's been a great fit, and really happy. Everything happens for a reason, right? So something caused you to come to that meeting that day and put you in front of me that gave us an opportunity to meet and be able to kind of get to where we are today. So it really felt like kind of it was meant to be, to some degree.
Yeah, and I guess just to add a couple things there, ever since when I met that client, from the day I met her, which was probably a year and some months before I ever met you, she told me, you need to meet Chris Ingram, because I would show up in my button-up shirt after getting off of work from Wells Fargo, go over to their place, hang out with the family and stuff like that, and came up multiple times. And what spurred it was that car accident, and I was like, all right, I'll be the third wheel. And I could see her kicking you under the table saying, he's in finance.
Yeah, no, she planted the seed, but you did a great job of presenting yourself and showing that you knew what you were talking about, and you just had a lot of knowledge already at that stage. And that's, I would say that's one of the best things I can say, is that you came in so already competent, right? We bring in some people that you really have to train them, you really have to get them up to speed, and really coach them through not only how to be a financial advisor, but all of the jargon and the things. There's a lot to know, right? And a lot of people just don't know it, and so you're constantly answering questions and trying to get them to a place where you feel like you can set them off and put them in front of clients. You got there so fast because your knowledge was so high from the very beginning, that, like I said, it's just been a really good fit, and really lucky that for whatever reason you chose to come to that appointment that day.
Well, it's kind of funny because finding the interest in personal finance and investing and doing all that at such a young age, it feels like it all happened so fast, and here I am today. But there was probably 8 to 10 years of time that kind of went into like really planning, and I think that speaks towards the planner personality type that I have. That I put this idea in my head, and I said, when I graduated from high school, I didn't know what I wanted to do. And there's a lot of people out there, and I found something that I became passionate about, that I had a genuine interest in, and it just made learning all that information not a task. It was something like, oh, this is awesome, it's empowering me, and I want to do more meaningful work for others. Because I've done, one of the jobs that I did when I was paying for college was car washes. Yeah, okay, I can wash your car, it's not going to change your life. Right? But so it's always been kind of the pursuit for doing more meaningful work. And I've made little steps. So I went from washing cars to working at the bank. And, part of the reason that I was so warm and receptive to taking the leap and joining Prosperitas was when I was at CSUN, that same friend that I made, Ahmad, he kind of pitched me the idea of an RIA when we were talking about changing majors. Hey, take this path, get your CFP, kind of be the one-stop shop for people's finances. And so I felt that, that's exactly what Prosperitas is doing, trying to bring all the professionals under one roof. And it's just kind of funny. It was almost like spoken into existence, and our paths crossed at the right time. And yeah, there's been no looking back ever since.
Isn't Ahmad the one getting his estate planning?
Yeah,
license?
so he just finished law school.
You're good.
I know.
Gosh.
I know all the cool kids at least.
Yeah, this is a while ago that we talked about it.
Yeah, go ahead.
You're very good at that.
Yeah, but
I just wanted to interject and say one thing during the podcast. I'm done.
Yeah, but he just finished up law school over the summer this year.
Cool.
So he
Nice.
did it.
Congrats to him.
Yeah, still
Yeah.
looking for a time to catch up with him.
Yeah.
I've been seeing him pop up on social media and stuff like that here and there. So
Cool.
yeah, definitely I do keep in contact with a lot of the people from that business honors program.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
So
That's awesome. That's that's what I was gonna go back and ask is like when you did that major switch, all of a sudden now going to those new personal finance classes, did that like reinforce that you made the right decision?
yeah, I gave it some thought, and now looking back on it, gosh, I don't know how I would have liked systems and operations management. Like I didn't feel like a lot of my coursework, and it was honors coursework, so like some of my professors said, this is the same curriculum that I'm teaching our PhD students, and you guys get to take it as well because you're in this honors program. So it was challenging, but it didn't feel like work. Kind of felt like I was honing my craft at that time. And there was a bit of balance there with working part-time, going to school full-time, kind of juggling all that. But yeah, I mean, the 2 years at CSUN flew by, and another reason for that is COVID, right? I transferred in fall of 2019. I took a couple gap years out of high school just to kind of really figure out what it was that I wanted to do. So I was just working full-time. Took a couple gap years out of high school, figured out, hey, I want to, start my own business one day. Didn't know exactly what that looked like. I would talk to different guys. Oh, I want to be in, software and technology and make all this money. I said, well, let me just manage your money for 1% and, we'll call it good. And so it's funny because like all of these things, like I said, it's kind of like talking it into existence, and, the pieces kind of fell into place, and yeah, so
That's how it works.
Yeah.
It really is. I don't know. People refer to it, law of attraction. All those things that you can talk about. All these different people talk about how you kind of think it in. But I while I think some of that is probably true, I think a lot of it is just if you think about it so much and you talk about it so much and you bring it into your mind so much, you really kind of force yourself in that direction in a way. And if you were just continuing to focus on it, talk about it, think about it, hone that skill, is like you were saying, you kind of, without even knowing it, continue to push yourself that direction. The RIA comes up, like the different little conversations, but it's all because of the activity and what you're talking about and the circle that you're putting yourself into, right? It kind of continues to, push you in. Like there's so much that goes into this that, today I've got great clients that, they were just in elementary school when they first, when I first met them, and now they're clients, they're married, they have kids, we're planning for their college education. So you really do become such a huge part of these people's lives. And I really think that is what this is all about. I mean, numbers are important, but you hear me say it all the time. It's not about the money. It's about everybody living the life they want to live and being able to accomplish the things that they want to accomplish and the goals that they have. Money is just the tool for us to get there. It's really the relationships in life and getting people to be able to do the things that they want to do.
Yeah, and I wouldn't change it. The people that I work with, I'm happy to say that they're not only clients but they're friends. I've built great working relationships with them, but I also want to go to their housewarming party. Like I don't want to just be the guy that you have to call when you need approval on this, that, or the other thing. Like I want to see pictures of their vacations, and
I've moved clients. Actually, one day a client of mine, she lived over in Friendly Valley, I think.
Mm-hmm.
She was moving to see me.
Yeah.
Husband had passed away. My mom had a moving van at the time, and I remember she asked if she could borrow the moving van, and I ended up actually packing the moving van with her sons, moving her out of Friendly Valley into, her retirement community out in Simi Valley. Like, there's just, again, I don't think people really understand if you're not in it, and you have these long-term relationships with people that go by like that, and you become such a big part of their family that you have other things that we do as financial advisors that isn't about money. Right?
Yeah. Absolutely, so blessed to say that that's worked for us too. I mean, like if like I always thought, like, the last thing I want to be is like a day laborer and like, be lifting bags of bricks all day. And it's like, if I get to, help people with, meaningful advice and help them navigate their the different aspects of their financial lives. But I also get to create relationships with these people and sharing the wins and sharing the good times, and also be there for them when things aren't going their way and help them, strategize for how we're going to turn the corner and, make changes when needed. And just super blessed to say that that's what I get to do.
Yeah.
Most people see, the financial advisor side of like, oh, okay, you manage money. They don't see that you're a business owner, operator. Like, there's a lot happening behind the scenes. And so, especially as someone, coming straight out of college, like, it's impossible to learn until you're in it.
Yeah.
And so,
yeah, I think the biggest learning point in the last couple of years is when you're at the most when it feels like right now is the most difficult time of my life, and I don't know how much more I can stomach of this. Starting to realize that that's often the sign that probably about 6 to 12 months away from turning the corner onto something really awesome. And if I can just get through and get over that obstacle, that hurdle, whatever it might be, challenge in the business, or, I need to bring in, and meet with more people. If I can just get through that season, the grass is so much greener on the other side.
100%. Well said.
My favorite quote of all time is that Babe Ruth quote of, hard to beat someone who never quits, right?
Yeah.
It really is. Like, that's what it's all about. Like, the people that win are the ones that, even when it's difficult and they feel down and out, they just keep putting one foot in front of the other and keep moving forward, even when they don't feel like it. That consistency is key. You see all the memes on Facebook. It's, the guy digging the hole and he's like, I'm done with this, and he gives up, and there's a diamond right behind the next dig, right? And you just can't quit.
Yeah.
I keep going.
Interesting.
So I just started looking at it as an indicator of something good is ahead of me. I just got to get over it.
That's true. Way to go. I love that. What about on the client side? Like, have you found a client that you love helping, as far as like, if someone reached out to you and they're like, hey, can you help me with this situation? Like, have you gravitated towards, like, I really love when someone, comes to me and maybe they own a business, or they're trying to retire, or they've never built a plan before? Like, who's your favorite client?
I mean, I enjoy helping people in all different stages of life. I think the biggest indicator for me that, hey, this is someone that I want to work with is if they want to help themselves as much as I want to help them. It's very difficult to take on a case where it feels like you're pulling teeth and just trying to help someone. So, the people that are motivated, regardless of if they're a business owner or W-2 employee, doesn't matter if they have a ton of assets or, very little in assets. I like working with people that are motivated, right? Want to see themselves in a better place. And it's kind of like the saying, like, you are who you surround yourself with. And I want to be that person for my clients, where they can sit down with me and go, wow, Ryan's really motivated. Ryan's really trying to do good for himself and the people that he serves. Well, I want those people around me also, and we can kind of feed off of each other's energy and go to the top together.
Love that. Good. Yeah, that's great. And then, going back to, hey, this is what an RIA is. This is why Prosperitas exists. What other professionals do you find yourself kind of helping clients alongside and working with on a regular basis?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so number of different professionals, but work closely with insurance agents, CPAs, I send CPAs, quite a bit of referrals. Also looking for a CPA. So if you're a young, hungry CPA that wants to create some sort of business relationship with me, give me a call or send me a message. Talk about that. Generally speaking, other finance professionals that kind of, all have their own niche, whether that's real estate or mortgages, but I've also, created really good relationships with people outside of finance, where you wouldn't really think like, oh, this is going to be, a fruitful referral relationship, but you never know who that person is. And sometimes it comes from the least expected source. So,
yeah, that's true. That's really true. Good point. And then I'm just curious because, again, you've built this from the ground up, and I'd say the first 4 years are the hardest point of any business, and especially in our field. So what's been the most challenging part for you up to this point?
Yeah, I think the most challenging point was 2022. So I really took kind of like the leap at the beginning of 2022 where, before I was doing a lot of financial planning with Chris, working, really with only your clients. He kind of gave me the nudge saying, hey, I think you're ready to get licensed and start building something on your own and, start building your book of business, continue working with, Prosperitas clients. But, I think you got what it takes to be successful in this industry. And I took that leap right at the beginning of 2022. And 2022 was a very challenging year to take that leap. Yeah. At times I struggled, just trying to bring in assets, while keeping, my bills paid for in a declining market when your income is based off of, the accounts that you're managing. If the markets are going down and the people you're bringing in kind of keep it level income or, slightly less than you would have had if you didn't bring them in. Yeah. Getting through 2022 was a challenging year. But I will say is, looking back on it now, because that was really the first time I went through a market correction, and I wasn't just managing my own money. I was helping other people manage theirs. I'm almost giddy and excited for the next opportunity because that's how I look at a year like 2022 when the market's on, sale 15 to 20%. Like that is the opportunity for a lot of people. And, of course we look deeper than, oh, the markets are down, that means you should buy. We look at their individual circumstances, but a good portion of the people that I work with would, I'd call them up and say, this is, what we're going to do. And, that wasn't necessarily how I approached it in 2022 because I was kind of scrambling a little bit. It was a learning experience. Really thankful to say I didn't have any, clients that made, bad decisions during that time and decided to cash everything out and, realize all these losses. But looking back on it, I think that was a challenging time, and I'm almost excited to face that challenge again because I know if I can get through that challenge and I can implement the things that I'm seeing now in hindsight, come out of that in a much better place than going into it.
Yeah. So what would you do if an opportunity like that arises? What's your game plan now?
Yeah, so again, knowing my clients' individual circumstances, I would know the people who have cash on the sideline that's just sitting in money market or CDs, people that, had the plan of getting this money into some sort of investment, whether it's, mutual funds, ETFs, or real estate. That's been a conversation. It's like, money market and CDs are yielding, 3 to 4%, but the market did 20% this year. Right, and you were talking 2 years ago about putting this money to work in, real estate purchase, and that hasn't really materialized up until this point. You've been earning 4%, but the market's taken off. And I'm not saying, throw all of your money 100% into the stock market, right? But we can allocate you appropriately to where you're going to, potentially earn a little bit better returns than that CD or money market, especially if it's, under 2%. And potentially still being ready at any given moment to jump on that opportunity, right? So if the market goes down again, I'm calling those people, telling them to send me the cash that they have sitting in the bank, right? That's, been on the sideline, because I don't think sitting on the sideline is a winning strategy in the long run. And then, for the people that, have concerns, just remind them to stay the course. If you have reoccurring contributions going into your accounts, let's bump those up. If we like I have some clients that I took on earlier this year, and the stock market was near all-time highs. And that's the question that, we have to have with the client is, look, markets are at all-time highs. You need to have stock market exposure so this money lasts you throughout the next 30 years in your retirement. You need to take income from your portfolio, because your plan is calling for it. Some of those clients, we're going to start off a little bit more conservatively, being that we're at higher points in the market, but market starts dipping again, and phone call is going to be, hey, let's become a little bit more aggressive, maybe increase our equity exposure by 10-15%. Nothing overboard, but just a little fine tuning here and there that can make a really big difference for any individual at the end of the day.
Love that. That was a really good response for being completely off the cuff. Yeah.
I think 2022 made you a better financial advisor.
And I always looked at it from the standpoint of, it'd be great if I would have joined the industry in 2014 and just rode the bull run from 2014 all the way up to basically 2020. I mean, there was little dips here and there, but it was pretty much one of the best periods in stock market history. And I looked at that it would have been great if I started, but that wasn't the situation that I was in, and I cut my teeth in a downward market, and I kind of thought, hey, if I can get through this tough period of time, there's nothing that'll stop me, right? I would have experienced it firsthand, first year, and doing this on my own in 40-year high inflation, 20-year high interest rates, markets selling off. Coming out of a pandemic, there's all these unknowns, and we can continue to list those things, but I won't. But I just knew if I could get through this moment, I could make it in this industry. I'd be ready for the next market correction, the next market cycle, and so I almost use it as a fuel to my fire, I guess. That feeling of uncomfortability. And I had a conversation with you probably around that time, need to find a way to turn that into, that fire into fuel. Yeah.
I'd say you did that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Still working on it, and, try to...
It's a constant work in progress.
Yeah. Work's never done.
Never. No. Was that what it was like when you started? When was your first hard year?
No,
time out. How did we not interview you on one of these episodes?
Who knows?
Still time left.
I speak from experience in the sense that it truly made you a better financial advisor, because the problem is that if you would have come in 2014 and you would have experienced all the good times, not you personally, but your ego of, oh man, we're just making so much money, I'm so good at this, would probably have pushed you to more aggressive portfolios, more risk inside of the portfolios. And then when the crash came in 2022, it probably would have been a lot more painful. I always felt like the same thing kind of happened to me. I came in 98 and 99, the tech bubble was on fire, right? Everything with a .com, whether it actually had any profits or not, was going through the roof. I didn't have a ton of clients in 98, 99. My grandma and a handful of people that were giving me some money at that time. And then the bubble burst in March of 2000, and then we went into the longest bear market in history. It lasted all the way through 2022. September 11th happened, everything. So
2002.
2002, yeah. So 2000 through 2002. And it was really, to me, it felt like I was being punished. It was like the first handful of years of my career, 3 years. I thought 2022 was bad.
Yeah.
3 years of 2022 in a row where it's just bad, worse. Every time you thought it couldn't get any worse, tech bubble burst, and then they fly planes in the damn buildings. You're like, oh my gosh, what is going on? And then recession in 2002. It just felt like it was never going to end, and it felt horrible. But I look back on it now, and I designed the Prosperitas portfolios during that time period because I wanted things that were more structured in a way that they could control good and bad markets. And it made me more cautious in the sense that I knew what a bad market could look like. So I was looking for returns. I was looking for clients that could be rewarded by putting their money into the market. But I was always looking for, how do I balance that with risk management to make sure that we're protected the next time something like that happens. And learning that early on in your career, I think, is a huge bonus, and something that I would say is you're going to look back on that and say that was probably the best thing that could ever happen to you. Because that's the way I feel about it today. Is it was the best thing that ever happened to me, because it taught me a valuable lesson very early on that created so many different ways of thinking about money management that lasted throughout my career. And when things like 2008 rolled around, I was really properly positioned and did a really good job, in my opinion, for the way we managed money in 2008, because I had already kind of learned that lesson so early in my career. So, and to your point, was doing things like that, calling clients up and saying, hey, you need to put money into your accounts, while people are like, I want to take all my money out of my account. I'm like, no, we're not taking it out, you're putting money in. Like, we're going to get more into this thing. And so it is one of the most valuable lessons you can learn, and you ripped the Band-Aid off early. And you did it when you didn't have a ton of clients to have to worry about, right? Like, when your book's much bigger, the next time it rolls around and it's even more important for you to be poised and ready, you're going to be ready for it.
Yeah, and that's why I'm thankful, it happened when it did, because had I, started in 2014, didn't really feel any pullbacks until 2022, except for the minor blip here and there. Would have had a much bigger book of business, had a lot more to, manage during that time period, a lot more people to kind of talk off the ledge. And I don't know if I would have been ready for it at that time. Right? But I definitely feel ready for the next opportunity now.
You're ready. I've talked to you. You know what's going on. So your clients are in a great place having you ready to coach them through the next one when it happens. And to be honest with you, I don't think it's all that far away based on what I'm seeing. Not a terrible environment, but things are getting a little euphoric. We're at the peak of the market. Things are getting a little speculative, which is not a good sign. So, like Warren Buffett said, be fearful when others are greedy, and greedy when others are fearful. People are very greedy at the moment, so that my fear is starting to rise considerably. What talk to us about, what your biggest fear is from your clients right now. So, as you're meeting with clients today and they're coming into your office, what are the biggest concerns that they're bringing up during those conversations that they're worried about, whether it be, in their lives currently or things that they see on the horizon that they're concerned about?
Yeah, I think, for those of you that are listening that aren't our clients, we're based in Southern California, so a big issue that we've had the last few years is affordability and housing. That is a reoccurring theme when we're talking about concerns. Inflation, just over the last couple of years, it's been a big eye-opener for a lot of people. Inflation is now kind of front of mind, and where it wasn't really a huge concern, prior to those years after the pandemic. People are always, right now we just got through the election. So with an election year, there's a lot of concern there. There's a lot of concerns with the geopolitical tensions that are still going on overseas as of recording, this. We have China, Taiwan, Russia, Ukraine, Israel, Iran, Israel, Gaza, Israel, Iran. So just a lot going on, a lot of uncertainty out there. But those are really like the biggest ones. They're scared that geopolitical conflicts will continue. Cost of living has dramatically increased when their wages really haven't kept up in some cases. I think those are like the big ones. I'm sure there's more, but and it being an election year, not knowing what the outcome is, and how will one party's economic policies impact the stock market, right? Should we be scared? Should we be, happy that this outcome? It's really, It's hard to say from our position. We don't have the magic crystal ball to say, hey, 6 months from now, 12 months from now, this is where the market's going to be at exactly. So we just have to do what we think is going to serve the client the best way. Again, manage risk levels and use prudent investment strategies that don't put all of our clients' eggs in one basket. As much as they might want to be 100% NVIDIA stock in all of their accounts, kind of talk them off the ledge with that, and
Yeah, that's good. We've talked a lot about the business side, and I think other than mentioning that you wanted to golf at the Stanford course, we haven't really talked about what you do for fun.
Mm-hmm.
So aside from building this business, how do you spend your time outside of being a financial advisor?
Yeah, so golf is a huge hobby of mine. Really enjoy going out with a group of friends, just golfing. Actually, one of the beauties of this business is I'll get invited to an occasional round of golf here and there. Try not to take too many of them during the week, save it for the weekend, or like a good networking opportunity where it might be like a charity fundraiser. The last couple of years, been really involved with the community. 2024 was kind of a really busy year for me personally. Had to move. I have a dog also. I have a 3-year-old.
Yeah, let's talk about
dog.
Dan.
I was going to make sure you brought that up. I looked
Yeah.
at your calendar today and I saw time slot blocked out for let the dog out.
Yeah.
So,
Ooh, let the dog.
I really enjoy spending time with my dog.
There you go.
He was going through some health challenges earlier in the year. French bulldogs, man.
Oof.
I'll tell you, one of the best decisions I've made in the last few years is getting a health insurance policy on him right when I first got him.
Nice.
Because that thing, it saved my behind more than once.
Saving all the good tips for the end.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yep. And I actually took him to the vet earlier this week, so I got to do my reimbursement check for the insurance. But so what else? So spending time with family, friends, going out golfing, spending time with the dog. Before I was in finance, I mentioned working at the car wash, so I enjoy like the little things. I enjoy washing my car every couple of weeks, doing like detail. I've always been big into computers and technology, so I like to stay up to date with what's the newest tech out there. And then outside of that, the last couple of years been trying to become more and more dedicated to the gym. So 4 or 5 days a week, trying to go to the gym for at least an hour and a half. So
Trying to be like Robert.
yeah, I try to fit all those things into the day, and you're like, dang, where'd all the time go?
And it takes a lot of work to get this fat. You're going to need much more than
Please.
4 years. Love it. Let's see. We got to hit them with the questions.
It's not fair.
It is. It's
not
perfectly
fair.
fair.
It's not fair.
Okay, you got to be down to the penny then.
I mean, the last question's not fair.
Well, the last question's
So
not
for our listeners, if you haven't looked at any of our other podcasts, we ask 4 questions to our advisors, and there's a prize for who gets the closest with these answers. The 4th question, and I'll ask it, I don't know if I'm going to ask it. We'll have to figure out how to change things, because the last question is who's going to be the next president. We obviously know that at the time of recording this, that President Trump has been elected. So that one's kind of off the table. But the first 3, he also has a huge leg up. The questions were...
Anything could happen in the next 2 months.
It can. You still have a pretty good advantage here. So where will the S&P 500 be by the end of the year?
I think the S&P will be 61 and change.
61 and change. You gotta be specific. You're so close.
Yeah,
You gotta,
you're so close.
you gotta.
Just give us
All right,
61.
Say 61.20.
61.20. All right. Nasdaq. End of the year.
19,600.
19,600. Dow Jones.
Say 44.5.
44.5. Okay. And then since who's going to be the next president is kind of off the table, and what was my one for the strategic partners was who's going to win the World Series, and that one's off the table
that
too.
one's off the table.
Good. I'm not a baseball watcher. I've actually started watching a couple sports games here and there.
Okay.
So I know I haven't done fantasy the last couple of years. Maybe make a comeback in
Dang.
2025.
Take over my team because evidently I don't know what I'm doing.
Oh,
Yeah. I'm just the charity. I give everybody the charity win. Like, if you're playing Robert, you're probably going to get a win this week.
I did enjoy watching the is it the World Series for baseball?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I enjoyed watching the last few games. I didn't catch all of them, but I caught the last one, and I caught a few of the last.
It was a great.
Yeah.
The last, the whole playoffs were
Yeah, go
phenomenal. Yeah. All right, so let's try this. Do you possibly know who like the top 10 college football teams are or something like that?
Ooh, I might know like some of the top 3. I wouldn't.
Okay,
say
so
10.
that's good enough. So because we might be close enough to get the answer by the time we put all the numbers together. So how about you give me your bet for who is college football champions this year? At the end of it's a playoff year. First.
Gosh, I mean, I don't even know who's in the standings at this point, but
so I'll give you some.
Yeah, give me
help.
a couple names.
I'll give you some help. What do we think about here? So we've got Oregon sitting at number 1 right now. I think we've got Indiana at 5. We've got Ohio State in there. We've got who else is in there? We've got Miami somewhere in that mix. We've got BYU in the mix. We've got
Yeah, I mean, I don't stay up to date with college ball as much as I used to. That's another thing. When I was younger, I played football.
Listeners, if you're picking this up at all, you definitely want a financial advisor that does nothing but look at numbers, look at the markets.
Has no idea what
no outside interest in sports. Will return your emails on Sunday because he's not watching football. I'm kidding.
Any other questions? I mean,
we'll use
go
it. That's
for it.
good.
No,
that
that's
at
solid.
least gives us something.
Okay.
Yeah, a plus or a minus in the category. So
Yeah.
we can kinda
You could just ask me who do I think is going to win the next major golf tournament. I can tell you that one pretty easily.
Yeah, but I wouldn't know,
Yeah.
so I can't help you there.
Point of
Yeah.
reference.
Scotty Scheffler.
There we go.
Odds
Say
are
it
high.
anyway.
Odds are high. Awesome. How can listeners find you, connect with you on social, or you want them to email you? What's the best way to get in contact?
Yeah, social media, Rian Denich Financial Advisor on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn. Feel free to add me. I'm local in the community, so if I'm at an event, we happen to cross paths, don't hesitate to stop me, say hi. If you're someone that I already know that's watching this, shoot me a text message or an email, give me a call. Those would be the best ways to do it.
Awesome, man. Well, loved what you had to share. Thanks so much for being a guest. And until the next time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks, guys.